What's up, War Room? Welcome back. Joe and Connor, fresh off recording a nice long podcast, going to answer a bunch of your Discord questions on a wide range of topics. Some almost Jets, some special teams, a couple other things mixed in. CR, how we feeling?
Good. This is I like when we cross over to here and really jump into the Discord because it's like the anything can happen portion of Badlands, where we're pretty thought out during the podcast of what we're going to talk about, the topics we're going to touch. Sometimes we get really off topic, or I'll throw random trivia at you. But the Discord, basically building out the War Room rundown, is where things get real crazy.
We like to put it in the fans of you, the
That's
hands
literally
of
it.
you guys.
They produce this show. Yeah.
All right, Jay Webb. If you could go back in time and change one almost Jet to ensure he played for the team, who would it be? Bonus question. If you could erase one player's Jets tenure from ever happening, who would it be?
Wow.
Wow. I think I'm going to start with the latter. If you could erase one player Jets tenure. I don't want to have recency bias, but
It's Hassan Reddick. It's a bad one.
Maybe. Honestly. Wasn't he also holding out already in Tampa?
He didn't show up to OTAs, which is just remarkable.
The first name that came into my head is Zach Wilson, which isn't fair because that's probably like overdoing it. But he was the second overall pick in the draft, and he only lasted 2 years as the starting quarterback.
That's extremely fair.
I can't say Rodgers because at least, even though they were bad, at least they were interesting. And again, that's a selfish answer from a Badlands POV, but Favre, they were good for the year. Vernon Golston, it's like not enough of it. It has to be a quarterback, I feel like, right? I mean, it's probably Adam Gase if you could spread it to coaches, but what's your answer on there? And then we'll go to the almost Jet we wish we had.
So it's tough to I get it that it's easy to go, it's hard for me to go back and just erase a pick they made. Obviously, Zach Wilson is a really good one because that draft was just insane. A lot of the quarterbacks didn't work out or haven't yet. Hopefully one does because he's a Jet now. But I always think of just the swings for a proven player that were missed. That's why I said Reddick. Rodgers is tricky because, but it's a tough one to sit there and look at because you understand why they did it. We've talked about this many times, and he got hurt, and it was entertaining and brought a buzz to the team that we hadn't really had in a while. So there was aspects of it during the ride that were entertaining. It just ended very, very poorly. Man, it really might be Zach Wilson because of what was there and how much it set. The Zach Wilson, we've done the Mekhi Becton trickle effect before, which is really, really ugly. But Zach Wilson is one of those situations where if they just signed a mediocre quarterback, how many games do they win? Because they also could take a great player in that spot. Imagine in that spot, they end up with Micah Parsons or Jamar Chase or Penei Sewell. It's not like one of those things where you just easily reverse course it and go oh, well, what if they took this one great player? There's 12 great players to choose from. So I think you're right. I think it's out of guys they drafted, not big veteran swings. It might be Zach Wilson. And I'm sure people that are older than us have some different, older pick choices.
It's tough to do worse than the big quarterback miss. And they haven't picked first overall in, a bit. So Zach, unfortunately for now for him, takes the top spot. Dolphins backup quarterback. Almost Jet. This is before my time, and I have to do more research on it, but one of our older fans had mentioned to me recently that there was a scenario late in the season where the Jets won a couple of games that basically knocked them out of the running to get Lawrence Taylor. And I was like, that would have been nice to have Lawrence Taylor on the Jets. That would have been cool. Some of the more recent ones, the problem is that they've been so bad. So I always wanted them to take Alvin Kamara in the second round. Apparently they were going to take him, and Alvin Kamara would have been awesome to have on the Jets. But were they even good enough where if he was here, it would have made a difference? The one that I always got, and it's hard to even say this was an almost Jet, but it's what they should have done, is the year they drafted Jamal Adams at 6. The internal logic in the building was that they had Petty and Hackenberg, and between the two of them, one would be the quarterback of the future. So they didn't even really seriously consider taking. At the time we did not know what we know about Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So there was actually I feel like at the time there was a slightly more amount of buzz about the Jets and Mahomes than there was even Watson, but they should have just took the quarterback that year, right? I mean, both those guys were there. Mahomes, of course, is going to maybe go down as the best quarterback ever, and there was a stretch where Watson was one of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in the league. Mahomes that year, always comes to mind. I can't believe they took a safety that year. It's nothing against Jamal Adams. It's just taking a safety at 6 and then taking another one in the second round. Still breaks my brain a little bit. Also, wasn't Reggie White almost a Jet? There was like something there where like he almost ended up on the Jets.
I think there might be. Yeah, I remember reading a book about the Packers where they talk about that whole pursuit. I feel like something comes up in that. I have my answer.
Let's hear it.
Because it has to be an almost Jet. It can't just be like, well, at pick 3, they should have taken. It has to be somebody that was literally almost a Jet and has made this running joke for us. I think it's Antoine Winfield, right?
Wow, the deep cut. He was on the team for like a day, right? Then he went back. Anthony Barr style.
It's Anthony Barr style. He agreed in principle to a 6-year, $30 million contract during free agency, where it's interesting, right? Because he was on the Bills for 5 years, and then he hits free agency before his age 27 season, agrees to a deal with the Jets, ends up taking a visit with the Vikings, and signs with them instead. It's a total pivot. He got more money from the Vikings too. He's one of those guys that aged really well where, yes, he was very, very good with the Vikings as a free agent signing. He was better with them than his first 5 years of the Bills. But he made 3 straight Pro Bowls from 2008 to 2010. You just kind of wonder what him and Revis would have been like together.
That would have been nice.
That's kind of, you look at it, and like as much as we love Cromartie, the Jets didn't get Cromartie till 2010.
Yeah.
So, and
they would have had him in the 2009 season.
They made the big move for Cromartie because they needed that guy across from Revis.
Yeah.
But if in a 30, 31, 32-year-old Winfield, who was a Pro Bowl player and was actually second team All-Pro as a 31-year-old, if he was with Revis, you just kind of wonder how those teams would have been. Because almost Jet, I'm trying to think who you got to really think of like the qualifiers here. A guy was really close, whether a trade fell through or a free agent signing fell through, I guess the draft pick one is always funny.
Dante Hightower in the building with cupcakes and then leaving.
The cupcakes for Dante Hightower. Terry Bradway stood up and banged the table for Russell Wilson.
Of course he did.
Sure, everybody did that. Everybody did that for a 5'11" quarterback that ended up being great, but it's just funny how those stories trickle out after. So yeah, I would say Antoine Winfield because you just wonder what those two would have been like together.
Yeah, could have been a piece that helped get over the top. And it's not Drew Coleman narrowly missing that Peyton Manning interception in the AFC Championship.
Right.
Antoine Winfield's there, and there we are. It's the wounds. Underdog Fantasy Best Ball Draft Season. Now is the time to fire it up. Promo code Badlands for a deposit match. CR, how's your Best Ball Draft flow going right now?
Nice rhythm right now. I'm just building every roster imaginable. Heavy running back, heavy wide receiver, premium quarterback, value dipping on quarterback with our very own Justin Fields. So I could do 100 best ball drafts and never get bored. Let's actually see how the results play out in half a year from now.
Sign up for Underdog today with promo code